You said we're gonna do something to your brain.
It's an old man eating a Twix. It's Dead Air 6. This time we're talking about Garth Marenghi. Twitter. Threads? Tipping? Maybe? Is it cake? So, where do you want to start, Christina?
You said you wanted to start with Twitter. Twitter. Threads.
Yeah, go on then. Twitter.
You said you had loads to say.
On the 1st of July, Twitter put in not character limits, it put in limits for viewing tweets. Mm-hmm. You know about this. You have nothing to say about that? You're on Twitter. I see you on Twitter all the time, scrolling through.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was funny, because that's like all Twitter talked about for a couple of days.
So Elon Musk, big boss of Twitter, put out a statement saying that they're temporarily limiting how much people can see, even verified people, because the site is being manipulated and there's lots of data scraping. But it also coincides with the end of their contract with Google Cloud. Twitter negotiated a $1 billion contract with Google in about 2018 to provide cloud services, and that ended at the end of June when all this happened. Mm-hmm. So, is that a coincidence? You know?
Yeah, is that a coincidence?
Because they must have known that was coming.
Yeah.
So was there like a man like on level 3, like quickly building servers? Like, do you think you can build them fast enough? I don't know. I don't know, but I'll try.
Does anybody still work at Twitter? I think that doesn't help with things.
They've got 20% of their people still there. That's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What could they possibly be doing?
Sending poop emojis. I guess.
Yeah, that's all manual. What are they doing? Pushing buttons?
Mm-hmm.
Are they writing code? What for?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you do? What do tech people do?
Content moderation.
I don't think there's any of that going on. No, it's it's infrastructure. Like what do you have to do to maintain Twitter? Mm. Like, do you have to? I mean, when we say like infrastructure, is it a man like taking wires out of servers? Like, this server should be fine for 30 seconds.
There's definitely a guy pulling levers.
It's just Metropolis.
Yeah.
Just like people with clocks and
Yeah. I mean, that could be the case for all I know. Yeah. Well, what do you think? Why did he do this?
I don't think this was anything other than like another blunder. I don't think he did this. Mm-hmm. I think this is just something that happened, and it was like, oh yeah, shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Like not paying rent at Twitter HQ.
They're being sued by a number of people, landlords and such, for not paying. They're also threatening to sue Meta over their release of Threads. Mm-hmm.
What's the basis of that?
Your copy does. Actually, the basis is that you've used people who used to work at Twitter who have trade secrets.
Okay.
And Meta said, this was on the BBC, Meta said, no one in the engineering team of Threads has ever worked at Twitter. Mm-hmm. So...
Right, okay.
But even then, what...
Well, that should be pretty...
What trade secrets?
Yeah.
Like the super secret code that makes everything run.
Yeah.
The Keystone code.
Man, I don't know.
Sorry, I'm picking my nose here.
Yeah.
Threads, are you tempted? 70 million people in 2 days.
It's too many social media companies now.
It's the same social media company. It's Instagram, Facebook.
Which I don't use. Yeah. So
yeah, well...
there's really no...
Okay.
For me personally, no
Don't
impetus.
join the conversation then. Going on over at Threads.
Yeah.
People talking about Hot Wheels and...
I'm sure it's comparable to Twitter. Yeah.
Apparently very comparable.
It's enough.
But it's interesting that they've done this now, because I'd never heard of this until like a week ago.
Yeah, me either.
And then suddenly, oh, by the way, did you hear about Marky Zucks releasing Threads? Like, what?
What happened to the metaverse? I thought that was the future.
Coming. It's just calm down. All right,
I want my avatar with no legs that looks really awkward. Like a Wii character.
I want it to be all legs.
That's the future of meetings.
I want to be like not just a centaur, like a centipede tour, centipede tour, where I walk into like a board meeting and I've got like 100 legs, like human legs.
Okay.
Yeah, but
that's what you want for your avatar, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I want Sharktopus.
Or what if your like avatar is like just like I don't know, like a frigate. Like I can't get into the boardroom.
Yeah.
I can't get out the dry dock. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Anyway.
All I can think is big titty avatars.
Big titty avatars.
I don't. Where did we read that?
It was a comment.
It was a comment.
One of our videos. One of my videos.
Yeah.
That you possibly did the thumbnail for a bit. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Like that's how it would end up being.
Do you think that Threads is a threat to Twitter?
I mean, I guess so. They got 70 million signups in the first 48 hours. I wasn't really expecting that. But
no.
Like I say, I don't use Facebook. Like to me, you know, I go on Facebook on rare occasion to like look at pictures that my grandma has uploaded, you know, of her catching enormous fish, being an amazing fisherman.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Also, Elon Musk is suing, he's not threatening to, he is suing the legal company that helped negotiate Twitter enforcing Musk's buyout of Twitter. He's suing them for $90 million.
Okay.
Which is what I don't know if he's suing them for $90 million. Twitter paid them $90 million for their work in enforcing that deal, which, from what I understand, is like way more than they would normally get for that, but if that's what they agreed,
Yeah.
I just think that's funny.
Yeah.
He's suing the company that forced him to buy this company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing I'd say then, because you don't have anything to say about Threads, do you?
I don't have a lot to say now. Just
About Twitter? No?
Just
Is Twitter valuable?
oh, Elon. I mean, loads of people use it, but I don't know how you can really be like super profitable, especially with his whole strategy of like, I don't care what advertisers are willing to pay for. We want hate speech on Twitter and stuff like that, you know.
But not the word cis.
Damn the free market.
Yeah.
Not the word cis. That's a slur now. Yeah.
That's a slur now, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, free speech, but just not, you know, not that free speech. Not the one that I don't like.
So I actually looked this up as well. I looked up Threads TV film, and on Google it said #1 search today, which is very funny. Threads is a 1984 TV film set in Sheffield, which is where I'm from. And it's... Homunculus, be quiet. It's a joint BBC Australian film. It's made on like 400 grand, and it's about obviously the fictional events of if there was a nuclear war between East and West, this is what it would actually be like. I haven't seen it in 10 years. It's brilliant and like the most depressing thing you've ever seen. And like I say, it's the most, I suppose, you know, it's not just the most accurate, but it's like, it is an attempt to show how brutal it would be. And it's all from the perspective of normal people. There's no like general in a bunker or anything. And it's 1984. There's a nuclear standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union and over Iran. There's a revolution in Iran, and then nuclear war begins, and the world is, you know, plummeted into like the Dark Ages again, and people have to like eat rats and work on like pretty much government farms, like without the aid of oil, and people go blind with cataracts and.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
so they named,
brutal and horrible, and that's called Threads.
Zuckerberg named his social media company after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really loves...
Well, he didn't name it after it, but I just thought
know.
it was funny. I mean, it'd be funny if you saw like, yeah, Threads is really good. I've named it after Threads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do another product. It's going to be called Salo. Yeah.
Zuckerberg
is always speaking.
He does enjoy, like...
I've never heard Zuckerberg speak, you know. No, I have.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess it must sound normal if I don't remember.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. I mean, he loves dystopian stuff and, like, acting like it's a positive thing. When he was talking about the metaverse, wasn't he going on about, like, it's like the Matrix, it'll be so cool. Like, I don't think you remember that movie. You know, or didn't he also compare it to, like, Blade Runner? Like, again, these are not presented as ideal futures. You know?
Yeah, the most aspirational bit in 1984.
Yes.
Yeah, is that we can see everything everywhere.
Yeah.
People love that. Yeah. Well, anyway, I wonder how it's been successful so far. It's only been a couple of days. It's more or less a Twitter clone. But it, you know, what would the edge be on that normally? Like, not much, like, but it functions.
Okay.
Whereas Twitter obviously has the rate limit. Still, from what I can tell, I looked today on Twitter Business, the official Twitter app, and the little blurb made it sound like those rate limits are still in effect.
Still going. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it was ambiguous.
Yeah, remind me what the limits were. It was like
600.
600 per day for unverified.
You can read 600 tweets for unverified, which is like nothing.
Yeah, and that was all very unclear to me.
By
when
reading,
I first
does
saw
that mean just scrolling? Or?
Yeah, because you know, I just sit there and do that for a while.
Also, I've heard that
find something interesting.
Those rate limits didn't apply to desktop anyway. Didn't you say that?
Yeah. Well, in the first day of it, I kept seeing people, like, everybody was talking about it on Twitter, and there was people saying like, "Well, I haven't gotten the rate limit, and why is that?" Blah blah blah. And some people said, like, I think if you look at it on a browser, you're not using the Twitter app. It doesn't seem to apply. And I wondered about that because I didn't get any rate limit. Like, it would give you, like, a thing saying, like, you've exceeded your rate limit.
You're looking at too much stuff on Twitter.
Stop using our product so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, so Jack Dorsey isn't, like, posting a picture of grass on Twitter.
Oh, did he?
And, yeah, Musk, I think, tweeted something.
Of him smoking a massive joint of grass.
Tweeted something about, like,
through a baguette.
Get outside and go do stuff. Like, is that why you're doing this? Or because you didn't pay your bill? You know, I don't think that this is for my benefit. Yeah.
It's like Twitter's like a spaceship and they're like constantly under attack from Klingons on the starboard bow. But then work out it's actually just the Hubble telescope or something. It does seem to be in hilarious disarray.
Yeah.
But what I meant earlier when is it useful? I didn't mean profitable and stuff, just is it socially useful? I don't mean in terms of individual, I made a friend on Twitter. That seems unlikely. But
yeah.
I mean, there's journalists on Twitter.
There are, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some interesting stuff from journalists on Twitter. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read more about that now. I didn't realize
read more
that.
abortion.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's also loads of garbage. It's like any social media.
Like anything everywhere. Have you ever been into a library, looked through those books? Crap. Burn it.
Yeah. The 99% theory.
Which is what?
99% of everything sucks ass.
But not everything.
I don't know. It's
you go into the Mariana Trench and there's some good stuff down here, but most of these fish are crap.
But that's right.
Boring.
Boring. Where's the sea monsters?
Yeah, where's the sharktopus? Okay, alright. What's next then if we're done on Twitter? Twitter.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if anything else.
Threads does kind of make sense in terms of a name though.
Mm-hmm.
Threads. That's a better name for Reddit even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get you. Reading threads, I understand, yeah.
Okay, alright.
Yeah, I don't know what else there to say about Twitter. Just more Twitter.
I can see what's next from here.
Mm-hmm.
Go on then.
Go on then. What would you like to introduce?
I bet you think this is a light, don't you? That you can't see because I'm not going to edit this. Is it cake? No, it is a light. Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Ow.
With a knife, always as well.
Go on then. Is it cake?
Is It Cake, apparently, is a show on Netflix that is in its second season. That, according to Netflix, was in the top 10 in the US last week, and we were like, what the fuck is this?
It was in the top 10 of what?
Where Netflix is like top 10 in America, like top
Oh,
10
views on
things
Netflix.
streaming, according to them.
Oh, yeah, on Netflix, though.
On
I
Netflix,
mean, you know.
yes, according to them on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, streaming on Netflix, yeah. And we've enjoyed some kind of like cooking shows and stuff in the past.
This is not a cooking show.
Yeah, well, that's what made it so kind of
Well,
like,
explain
baffling.
the premise to
Okay,
the
okay,
people.
so...
Well, is it cake? What could that be? Is that...
People...
That's an ambiguous name for a show.
Yeah, bakers, pastry chefs come on and can win pretty small amounts of money for going on TV if they can both correctly identify what objects are cakes versus aren't, and then if they can make something that is a cake that looks like it's not a cake.
They have to correctly identify objects that may or may not be cakes from like 15 feet away.
From like 15 feet away. And then they show us the close-ups with the camera.
So you can see what cake.
Like, well, that's clearly the cake. You know, it's very obvious. Kind of no, I don't know, tension. I know we're talking about a cooking show, but... You know.
But it's not a cooking show.
No, it's not a cooking show.
It's a competition.
Well, that's what is frustrating, too, because, you know, normally in like a cooking competition type of show...
Yeah.
And there are some good ones.
Not my Top Chef.
No, I was actually thinking of Iron Chef. There, you know, there's like they talk through like the technical things that they're doing and stuff like that, and that makes it interesting to me as somebody who cooks. I feel like I very occasionally will learn something. Or
Richard Blaze, they're like,
oh, let me look that up.
Actually, using direct energy microwave from space. It's coming straight down into this magic wand here, and that'll give. This ice cream a nice ham glaze. Doesn't sound very good.
Or it could be basic shit, you know, like, you know, yeah, if you chill boiled eggs before you peel them, they peel much more easily. You know, if you don't already know that, like, oh, you could learn something. Yeah. Briefly, while chuckling at people.
If you use some rotten seafood in a medley, no one will know.
Yeah, Spike. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Scallops. But they don't do that in this. Like, they'll say, like, now I'm going to make this fake cellophane. Like, one of them was, like, make a packaged steak, like, in a cellophane wrapper on styrofoam into an edible cake. You know, you not make it into a cake, but make a cake that looks just like that and is edible. Like, cellophane, everything included. And this guy's like, no, I'm making the cellophane. I'm like, okay, how do you do that? That's interesting. No, we don't get to find out.
Yeah.
Look it up, or I guess watch something else.
The first season, there's no competitive element. It's just a group of, I think, 9 people who can win the chance to play the round each episode, and then can win like $5,000, $10,000 by correctly identifying the right cake, and also by fooling people with their own cake.
Yeah, they have separate judges that come in that they have to fool into them not being able to tell, you know, which packaged steak is a cake and which isn't.
And then in the second season, they changed that to be more like an actual reality TV show where one person goes home every week. But by that time, I'd had enough of that.
Yeah, and we got a couple episodes in.
Kicked my TV in.
Yeah, it's like, I'm done with this.
There you go. But the judges, definitely in the first season, they were getting for tuna, what's her name? That lady you like. I'm Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Oh, Fortune Feimster.
Yeah.
The comedian.
Yeah, she was on it.
She was on
for
it,
a minute.
yeah.
Rebecca Black.
Rebecca Black shows up.
That's a name you cannot buy.
Yeah.
How did they get her? I hear she doesn't get out of bed for less than $10 million.
Friday. Yeah, she turns up. That was baffling.
But that
and also judges who are like, I'm a TikToker, and then the like people in the gallery who aren't cooking this episode are like, oh my god, I'm such a big fan. I'm like, who?
A TikToker.
Okay. Yeah.
TikTok, Mr. Rice. But one of the judges was not Murderface from Workaholics.
Yes.
Which is why we watch Workaholics, because you said, oh, it's
that guy from Workaholics.
And I was like, what's that?
It's like, we should watch that instead.
And we did.
Yeah.
And we'll now talk about it now for no more than 3 minutes.
Sure. Well, do you want to say anything else about Is It Cake? Did you not want to say anything about the host?
Oh, yeah. What an odd choice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did you want to say something about the host?
Just very, very annoying.
I kind of liked him at the beginning, like his whole like I don't give a shit about this. It's a cake show, whatever.
Yeah,
that kind of worked for me.
but then
he just didn't have any jokes.
Yeah, he's like cracking jokes that are not funny. He did one thing that was funny.
He fell over.
Episode. He fell over in his chair.
Yeah, and you could tell he was embarrassed and a little bit hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I like the part where he fell. In the reviews, I did like that part.
Oh, I thought you read a review that.
No, he said that when he got
yeah,
up.
He
He's
did,
like,
yeah.
he knows.
Yeah, he knows. I like the part where he fell. He would do things where he just seemed like totally unprepared. Like people would say something, and his joke would be just saying what they had said.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
I think I'm gonna go for the steak cake. Oh, you're gonna go for the steak cake.
Ha, Melissa.
You need a joke there.
Yeah.
Ha, Melissa. You like steak?
That's what she said.
Yeah, yeah, I do like steak. Yeah, big meat eater.
Yeah, really dumb jokes. Just like, no, we've got champagne for everybody. Would you like? Oh, you can't. You're not 21.
Now, what this
Thanks,
needed
Dad.
was it needed Jack D. Do you know him?
No.
English comedian, who's like very dour, like very, very dour.
I see like 5 English comedians in my head. When you
And
say
just like him, like not just like not giving a shit about this competition, but like holding it in contempt.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Would have been great. Like you could have had whole things like him looking at something and be like, right, we made cellophane of you.
Yeah, I think I would
good.
actually enjoy that more.
And then like cutting things like just like can't even be bothered to cut it properly, just like sticking the end of the knife in like it's fucking cake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would like to have seen that, or gone the other way and like, I don't know, Jim Carrey. But also pissed off. Like I think you have to have the pissed off element to make this work.
See, when you first
Jim
said it,
Carrey fucking hates cake.
yeah. That could be fun.
Yeah.
When you first said Jack D, at first
He's
I thought you were
Jack
going to
Black.
say Jack Black. I was like, I couldn't get down with that.
Yeah.
Just freaking out. Are you making a cake?
Jack Black,
Yeah.
but it's Doug from, I can't remember his name, Doug from that show where they just get stoned.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't remember his name either. Doug something, yeah.
Yeah, there's a fairly famous comedian who has, I guess, a YouTube show or something, where the whole thing is he just smokes a bit of weed with famous people.
Yeah. The David Cross episode is the only one worth watching.
There's 2 great episodes. There's the Jack Black one, where Jack Black comes across really down to earth and kind of a bit bewildered, like, is this the show?
Mm-hmm.
And David Cross's episode, where David Cross is basically the same, but kind of way more offended.
Yeah,
by
like,
it.
pissed off that this is the show.
This is the show? Okay, I'll get
Yeah,
high.
it's like, what
the
kind?
fuck is this?
What kind do you want to smoke, David Cross? Like, I don't give a shit.
And he tells that
That's
story
not
about
why I
like,
do it.
about almost getting hooked on crack.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, no, it could have been Jack Black and that Doug guy that I don't know the second name of, and you don't know who I'm talking about. And Doug's really into it, and Jack Black hates it.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah, that could be fun. Something. Yeah, I mean, it definitely needs something to be like, you know, obviously it's not meant to be.
There's 8 of you. The top 7 will get to live.
Serious or like super interesting, but
It's fluff.
there needs to be a reason to watch though.
Yeah. There was no cooking information. There was no competitive. I mean, maybe there is in the second one, but I just couldn't do it. I mean, the host.
Yeah, just I was over it.
Fucking, I'd rather have Inky Jones.
Yeah, so that tells me that there's nothing interesting on Netflix in the last
That tells you.
few weeks. Yeah, if that's like in the top 10 of I don't know, whatever. Yeah, not.
Occasionally,
not
I'll get pissed off with Netflix and like threaten Netflix, like I'm gonna cancel Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not, because I think I'm grandfathered into like a UK rate where it's like £6 or something.
It's like $6 US.
Yeah, so that's yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna cancel.
That's why we never get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get rid of it,
Yeah.
but like it is. Yeah, it is annoying how much garbage there is on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Workaholics, we saw the Workaholics dude. What
We
do you
saw
have to
the
say about Workaholics?
Workaholics dude, Blake, and I was like, oh, that's the guy from Workaholics. I mean, what's that?
And we started
A
watching.
much better show.
So what is it?
Workaholics is about 3 best friends who live in a house together and all work as telemarketers at a shitty telemarketing company. And they pretty much just drink and do drugs and are very, very stupid.
Yeah, they're like
about it.
30-year-old sort of frat boys.
I guess they say they're like 25.
Oh, right.
And,
Oh, my God.
they were in like the second or third season, so they must have been like fresh out of college.
They're
or
kind of
something.
like, they're middle class. Like, one of them talks about their family was in the country club and they peaked in high school, they say a few times. They're meant to be sort of not hateful, but definitely sort of, yeah, like contemptible-ish, but
They're not
but
evil.
well-meaning-ish.
Yeah, they're just morons. Yeah.
Sort of wannabe jocks who peaked in high school, but not really jocks either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun. I don't love it.
Yeah, I love it. It's not amazing, but
The characters are very poorly defined. There's 3 of them, and
yeah.
I don't really know the difference.
Yeah,
I mean, visually, like, that's the tall one.
Yeah, they don't really change, which is usually
They're just
fine
all
for that
kind
of
of
show.
mad, and
Yeah.
it's a sitcom where mad things go on, unlike all the other sitcoms.
Yeah.
What differentiates it?
From
Because
other
I don't
similar
dislike
sitcoms.
it. Like, I'm going to watch more of it today in the background
Yeah. While
this renders.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does make me laugh,
Yeah.
Not every joke lands, but there's enough of them that, and there are some episodes that are, like, really funny, and then others that are more boring, It's kind of, I guess it's kind of like a middling, what would you fucking call it? I don't know, like a quirky comedy, like
a derivative of Sunny.
Yeah, it did make me think this is kind of like Sunny, but the characters are like
Less extreme,
less despicable. They do bad things and kind of are bad people.
Yeah.
But not through. They're not like intending to be, I guess. Whereas in Sunny, like everybody's absolutely horrible and actively tries to hurt other people all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
in a funny way. Yeah.
Sunny has a much more interesting character dynamic where the characters are constantly, both competing against each other and vying for each other's approval and all of this.
And they have very distinct personalities.
Very yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what lacks here. Like some of the silly jokes. I mean, the level of jokes is like, coming into your own mouth.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. It's pretty puerile.
It's pretty lowbrow.
It's pretty lowbrow.
Yeah.
But it is funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. It's kind of
there are funny ideas.
A good background choice.
Yeah. I would say if you, have a good...
But I wouldn't buy the DVD.
A day of video games ahead of you and you have access to it for free somewhere, it's perfectly decent background noise.
You're going to do anything that doesn't involve actually sitting and watching.
Yeah, well, how many things,
How many times do you do that, is what you're going to say.
Yeah, how many times do we sit down and just watch something? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Basically, we'll start something and then, like, oh, this is actually good, and then we'll sit down.
Okay, do you have anything to say about Workaholics?
No, yeah, it's very silly, but...
They're not workaholics at all.
No.
They barely do any work.
They hardly ever seem to be working, yeah. They're more trying to, like... It's very ridiculous, like... I don't know, try and get some examples if you haven't seen it. See if it's the kind of thing that would appeal to you. Like, one of their coworkers dies in the office. They think she's asleep. So they start, like, covering her with food and doing, like, faces all over her. And, like, getting their dick out and putting it on her head.
Do you
this
think
old lady.
Do you think it glamorizes drinking a bit? There's lots of, like, montages. Which seem, even though it's from, like, I think it started in 2011... Those montages seem out of date even by then.
Yeah, no, it does glamorize drinking, yeah, I'd say.
Because
but it doesn't make it look like, because they get into all kinds of awful trouble and stuff, so it's not like that, but I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't matter if you're at, like, a, disgusting house party or, like, a fine dinner party. It always goes the same way. When people are drinking, it's just hours and hours and hours of people talking shit. Utter shit over and over again. Drinking is best enjoyed alone, when you could be doing other things, like drink and, play a video game or whatever, and have a bonfire.
I agree with you.
Go for a country drive.
I'm kind of over
on my horse.
Social drinking completely.
Horse is sober.
Yeah, most people just end up talking loads of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like at at best, you're drunk too, and you let off some steam. Like, oh God, I've been working all week, and then, but really, it's usually like for me, I've got to get pretty drunk to tolerate other people who are drunk. Like I've got to get more drunk than them. I don't know. I don't get like paralytic. He says, but like
Yeah.
And
no, if other people are drunk and you're not, they are very annoying.
I agree, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that for me, I've got to be. I can't just be a bit drunk.
Oh, I get you. You got to be at their level or above.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that their level has to be very high either. Like if someone's 3 beers in, oh Christ, I'm gonna have to drink this bottle of vodka to deal with this. I'm fucking drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, glamour slightly. Drinking is way more gross than they show, and I've met loads of people who are like, I can handle my booze, and for everyone it's the same. You get a real good buzz from it for half an hour, and like you're ready to go and do things for like an hour after that. Like, yeah, let's build a water slide, and then you're just dead after that. Just
I gotta lay down.
not even but I'm not even to that extreme. Just like, oh no, I'm
Yeah.
I think a bug just flew up my nose.
It just flew past you, I think, yeah. Definitely get the bugs coming back in the summer. They hate the heat, too.
Do you think Sunny glamorizes drinking? I mean, less so, because they are kind of alcoholics.
Yeah, I would say less so. Yeah, because they make it, like, pretty clear that they're alcoholics, and it's dangerous. I mean, Charlie drinks paint.
Yeah, but like, they're all drinking and stuff, and I like Sunny, or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia a lot, but I'm actually never really convinced by their drunk acting.
Sometimes I think it's really good. When the intervention episode, where they stage an intervention on Frank, and they're all drinking wine out of a can.
And Glenn Houghton
and
laughs.
Their lips are red. Yeah. When she's like, I don't think you should be having an intervention in a bar. And Glenn Houghton's like,
yeah.
That was very believable to me. Sometimes I think it's
Sometimes
good.
it is. Just the reality is Charlie would. I mean, obviously the paint thing, that's just sitcom nonsense. But they would all be very, very ill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Dennis would have a gut, and
yeah, maybe. I get you. Maybe the difference with Sunny is that, it's more you more like directly see how, like, yeah, they're alcoholics and it's not good for them. And in this, it's more like the booze is like a background thing.
Yeah, it's yeah. I think I mean, I guess another thing about something that I've talked about with you before is it's not really a criticism. I mean, it's TV, but I find that the sets and the, I suppose, costuming, hairdressing really takes me out of it. Like, they're all these losers who like Charlie sleeps in a fucking filthy mattress in a filthy apartment and like goes down into the sewer and stuff.
Yeah.
But they've all got like immaculate hair.
Yeah.
And stuff and
TV stuff.
And like Charlie's apartment is meant to be really filthy and stuff, but you can tell like that's fresh green paint that they've put like filth decal or overspray over, and it just never actually feels like you ever been in a really filthy apartment? It's not just like the burner, isn't it? It's not just stained. It's like there's fucking dust and fluff and crumbs and rat shit everywhere, and
I get you. Yeah.
Just who cares? It's a minor thing.
You're always complaining about the bar look too. You're like, what bar has ceilings that high? What bar is in a?
I think
on a soundstage.
First season, there are at least 2 shots where you can see the lighting grid.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. TV stuff.
Again, it doesn't matter.
It's still an enjoyable show.
Yeah.
At least up to a point. Where is it that we always end up quitting?
10.
I still like a lot of season 10.
Saying
there's like 3 or 4 good episodes in season 11.
It's exactly the same with The Simpsons.
And then I think we watched season 12 like once. And we're like, meh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's still like a good run.
I think in The Simpsons, like it starts to get bad season 10. It's something like season 11 or 12. Everyone is rubbish. And And then in season 13, I think there's 1 or 2 good ones, and there's one at the end behind the laughter. That's good. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like, I'll rate, if I'm watching The Simpsons, I'll stop at about season 10.
Yeah.
But there are good ones in season 11, 12, 13. Maybe there are good ones now.
I mean, maybe. I haven't watched new ones in so long. What do you, this isn't on our list or anything, what do you think
No.
about Aqua Teen coming back?
What do I think about it coming back?
Because that's like one of the best show endings ever, in my opinion.
I'm pumped for it. Is it coming back, what, as a series then?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
okay,
right, yeah.
well, are they going to do more than one series? Or more than one season?
I have no idea, yeah.
I'm pumped for it. I love Aqua Teen. Christina introduced me to Aqua Teen. I'd never seen it, never even heard of it before.
You were missing out.
I remember you showing it me and me watching it like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
Like, this looks like someone made it in the garage.
It's a hard show to explain to people what it's about and stuff.
Then just like getting into it and realizing what it was.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah. About the
Subversive.
characters and yeah. Yeah, I mean that's like
Yeah.
definitely like top 3 favorite
Video
shows of all
Ouija
time.
one was the first one you showed me, and I think when Shake vomits in like directly above himself and then laughs and then the vomit falls back on himself and he doesn't react to it, I realized what the show is doing.
Yeah. As Meat was, it's like Frylock said poop in here, and
Poop.
Poop, blah, poop. It's so funny. It's so stupid. Yeah.
So Workaholics. I like it.
Yeah, I like
it. Don't love it.
It's not great. I don't know. What'd you give it in like out of 10? What would you say it is as a show?
I give it a shared office cubicle out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rate anything like that.
I know, you don't rate
this is
anything like
something
that,
that I personally like. If I sat down to watch Workaholics, I'd be bored in like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But whilst I'm on the computer or going outside cooking or whatever.
Yeah. Definitely,
it's
I
good.
get what you mean. Like, there's a lot of stuff that...
That's basically how I consume most media, with the exception of films, which I do sit down and watch.
Yeah, and depending on what it is. Yeah.
But I sat down and watched Barry.
Yeah. We did sit down and watch, like, the majority of that. We were sitting down watching, not playing games. So, yeah, it just depends.
Mm-hmm. What is next on the docket?
Yeah, another show that we revisited that I don't think either of us had seen in a long time.
Darkplace.
Garth Marenghi's Darkplace.
How did you come across Darkplace?
On Adult Swim.
Right, okay. Because in Britain, it was on Channel 4, and it was probably shown like once, prime time, like 9.
Yeah,
on a Friday night, and never again. It would be one of those things that if you wanted to see it, you'd have to watch it on a Thursday night at 1 a.m.
Yeah, I get you. Around the same era, the Aqua Teen was like, big on Adult Swim. Yeah, Garth Marenghi was on there. There's only 6 episodes.
And what is it?
It is about, okay, so it's sort of a kind of mockumentary style about this author named Garth Marenghi, who's a horror author who thinks very highly of himself and his skills in writing horror novels. And he talks about how Garth Marenghi, not a real person, fictional person, and how in the 80s. They say in the 80s that he wrote and starred in a horror sci-fi show that takes place in a hospital featuring doctors, and he's the smartest and handsomest doctor.
Douglas.
Yeah, Rick Douglas.
Rick
MD.
Douglas, yeah.
And
I've always felt more like a Roy for my main character in a shit sitcom. Roy or Carl. That's a great name for a sitcom character. Yeah.
Not Byron.
Maybe Ron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
Boyd.
Yeah. So explain the style of Darkplace.
Well, we get both things. We get the mock 1980s, I guess you'd call it something like Diagnosis Murder meets Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. We get that, and then that's sort of broken up and commented on by contemporary talking heads from Garth Marenghi and his producer, played by Richard Ayoade, talking about how great the show is, how it's a travesty they didn't get more episodes made,
Yeah.
and how they made it. And it's, it's a send-up of the whole genre and kind of Stephen King a bit.
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
And I suppose sort of masturbatory, non-literature, masturbatory genre writing.
And,
I mean, it's not meant to be like Stephen King or anything, but this guy's written like 100 books.
I get it, yeah.
Yeah,
He's,
all set in like Romford.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole idea is that this show that they were doing in the 80s was really cheap and badly done. Is where a lot of the humor comes from. One of the first shots where the lady doctor is coming in around the corner, and I guess it's meant to be a cat jumps out at her, and you just see somebody go with a cat through a window, and I just died.
Throw the cat.
And then goes up to say, "Hi, I'd like to apply to this hospital. Are there any positions open?" "Yes, there are. Can I start right now?" What was it? It was like
I'd like to apply to the hospital. Oh, let me just page the doctor then. Okay, thank you. Do I have time to go to the toilet? Not really.
Not really.
I mean, I got a belly laugh in 30 seconds.
I got a good solid laugh. A lot of the delivery is really good.
There's all sorts of things where, like, it's usually they're parodying stuff, but there's all sorts of things like that where they've written stuff that you never hear, but is true to life. Like, people say that, but it's just, like, sort of place and jarring. Can I go to the toilet?
Yeah.
Not really. Do I have time to go to the toilet? Not really. And there was a great one in the last episode of something like, "Hi, this is Rick Douglas, MD. I'm phoning about this case. I need to talk to the gas expert." Sorry, I thought you were going to talk.
Yeah. It's English, so there's a lot of what I would consider like English humor as well.
What's that? What the fuck does that mean?
What
Funny like
I
a
would
clown? Like a clown with bad teeth?
I would call witty and a bit dry.
A bit dry?
Yeah, you guys don't think that you have dry humor?
Well, I think that the idea that American and British humor is different like that is actually wrong.
Well, I'm sure you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have loads of crap.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it here.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Fair enough.
And then there's loads of, Arrested Development is completely different to Paradise PD.
Mm-hmm. I understand, yeah, they're different styles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. What else? The sci-fi elements are just absolute nonsense, which I appreciate. That last episode about there's a gas above the hospital and it's turning this woman into broccoli.
Because actually that's how broccoli came to Earth billions of years ago.
That's how broccoli came to Earth billions of years ago. She's turning into broccoli. The only medical answer is to boil her. Or we could steam her.
The main character, Douglas, grows attached to an alien that is just an eyeball in a blanket.
Yes, because this is my son.
We didn't realise until now, but he previously had a son who unfortunately inevitably died in a helicopter rotor blade accident because his son was half human, half grasshopper.
Yes.
It's very silly.
Yeah.
And played.
Yeah.
It's played completely straight.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not impenetrable or anything.
No. It's very silly. I mean, I love the theme song. Very 80s. And just the
models.
The models. Oh yeah, that's one of the best parts. Darkplace Hospital, and it's clearly like this big. And I love in the intro where it's Douglas like running with a baby away from an ambulance that explodes behind him, and he just starts flipping. It's so silly.
Yeah, that isn't even
what a
in
hero!
It. Yeah.
This never occurs in the show. Yeah, or your classic driving a car with like either like an all black background or like an obvious like video reel just behind someone. Yeah. Making fun of like cheap.
Very good. I wish
TV
they'd made
shows.
more, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It almost seems like they didn't intend to.
Yeah, I don't know the story about that either.
No.
But yeah, 6 episodes. They're like 24 minutes long.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really wish that.
We didn't get enough.
Yeah.
But maybe it's kind of better like that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I do wish I could have watched another like 10 seasons of that.
Yeah.
Especially giving it time to, like, develop, you know, a bit more and, like, to get into their groove or whatever. Because a lot of TV shows, I feel like the first season isn't very good.
Yeah, and it was, and yeah, it could have, if they'd have done 3 or 4 seasons, it could have been, you know, really something. It is a bit of a diamond in the rough, but...
Yeah, I really enjoy it,
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff, just the, like, sometimes it's so simple, like, especially if you're the kind of person who...
Stop banging my chair with the foot.
Stop banging my foot with your fingers.
Foot bang.
I was going to say, that's going to end up somewhere.
Stop banging my foot with your fingers.
Yeah, if you're the kind of person who is, like, into film and TV in, like, a technical way, you could probably find a lot of humor in just little stuff as well.
Some great shots.
Some great framing where, like, the frame's like this, and it's just a dude's head down here talking.
Like, making out that they've done all this in a rush with a crew that doesn't really know what it's doing.
Like, terrible ADR and...
Yes, terrible ADR. Yeah, brilliant. What's next? I mean, unless you got more to say. Not
really, just, I wish that...
they'd done more.
Really wish that there were more, because I could have had a lot of fun with that. Well, why don't you tell us about the new game that you've been playing?
Anything to not talk about tipping, huh?
Yeah.
We're talking about tipping.
Alright.
Tipping in America.
Alright, we'll see.
Do you want to talk about tipping now?
No, because it's too much to say.
Okay. We're talking about tipping after I talk about the new game.
Fine, we'll see.
Okay, what's it called? So I'm the sort of person who buys a game and it's like, what's it called?
No, I know, you were playing it for like 2 days and I was like, this is great. And what's it called?
Space game.
Space game, yeah.
What is it called? Foundations 4X.
Foundation 4X is what you wrote.
Yeah, I think it might be part of like a franchise or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I got it on sale and it's pretty rare that I buy games. Fairly rare. Bought like 3 games this year.
It's like 1 or 2 a year, and then we replay.
I replay lots of games, and it's a space sim game, very much kind of like Elite Dangerous or Freelancer, if you remember that. I think I'm right in saying that the guy who did Freelancer is the same guy, Roberts, who's doing Star Citizen right now. You familiar with Star Citizen? It was kickstarted. I think it's the biggest Kickstarter project ever. Definitely the biggest Kickstarter game project ever, I think.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me about this. Go ahead.
In excess of $100 million. It's still kind of in alpha, still being developed. Lots and lots of complicated ideas and also film clips of like Mark Hamill and stuff they recorded for it and all this. I've never played it. Some people say it's great, some people say it's like completely unfinished. Anyway, this is a game in that sort of genre of you are a person who can control spaceships and things like that and fly about, and it's open world and there's no one particular story, and you can be a pirate or you can be a trader. Very much like Elite Dangerous, which is a very successful example of the genre. But I think it's way better than that because, it's much newer. But it has a level of depth that you don't have to even get into, really. You can just, get a spaceship and fly around and get some money and buy another one if you want. But it has a level where you can buy spaceships and automate what they do. You can get them to mine, you can get them to trade, you can make an attack wing if you want. And I've got like loads of spaceships that, you can buy and kit out and be like, oh, I want this sort of engine and stuff. And I've never seen those spaceships. They're just off somewhere making money for me. It's great. So it's kind of... yeah.
Right, okay.
And it's, it's pretty well... I'd say it's pretty well done. And it's definitely a game where you've got to make your own fun. And what I was going to say about it was it's one of the most rare game experiences where I will start playing a game and think, like the first hour, like, yeah, I don't like this, I can see what it's doing. And then like about 5 hours in, kind of be getting to the point where like, this is a bit boring. And I felt like that. And then I got to a point where I could access the deeper elements of buying other spaceships and stuff. It was a bit of a slow start. But then once I got into it, it's like, oh yeah, I really like it. I really like it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you've been talking about it all week. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like the first game I've played in hundreds of years where there's no time element, right? There's no time dilation. It's too complicated. It's like there's spaceships going everywhere and trades going on and stuff. So often, like if you wanted, you could never get in a spaceship. You could just buy spaceships and send them off to do things for you.
Right,
You could just hang out. Or you could do that whilst you control your own spaceship and do whatever. And often I'll be like, oh, I've got to go to the other end of the map.
How big is the map?
It's big.
Yeah.
I don't know how,
Is it a set map or is it like procedurally generated?
I don't know. I think it's got set elements that are sort of semi-randomly placed.
Okay.
I think. But it's big. It can take a long time to get across. And it does a good job in populating it where inevitably space is big and empty, but there's loads of stuff going on all the time that's nothing to do with you if you don't want it to be. Loads of battles and things and
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it does. They do quite a good job of making it feel like a living world.
Okay, so is it more focused on like resource acquisition, battles? Is there like are there any more like RPG elements or like diplomatic ways of doing things, or
the RPG elements, there's no RPG elements in terms of your own individual skill, like maybe there are, and it's just the start I did, but how well you pilot your ship is just how well you yourself pilot your ship, but the pilots you hire have different skills with like piloting or engineering and stuff, and they can do more complicated things with better skills. Like it starts off where you can only get them to do like trading in their sector, but then as it goes on you can do advanced trading where they can kind of go wherever they want.
Okay.
Make loads of money doing that. But yeah, it's more about diplomacy. There's different groups, some of which are in conflict. You don't have to join a conflict. You can not do any combat at all and set up a trading empire. It's probably the most profitable way. Just like in Port Royale too. But it's very good.
Right. So do you have an individual character?
Yeah.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, and they can modify themselves with different tools and things, and different upgrades.
I get you, but it's just not focused on the individual, more on like systems.
Yeah, more on systems. But if you wanted, you could totally, you can bypass security systems, and you can float around personally or around space stations and try and find hidden stuff. If you wanted, you could play the whole game without ever having more than your own spaceship.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How are the graphics? I've just barely seen over your shoulder.
They're decent. The individual character models are a bit janky. But I really love Space Engineers, which is a different sort of space game where you can build your own spaceship, which is what that's all about. But they don't have, they have like no character models or static character models. The character models move here. They kind of look like ass when they're talking, and they all kind of look the same.
No, I get you.
But
that's not what
most
the
of the time you're in a spaceship, so
exactly.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and there's times where that doesn't matter at all. Yeah.
And when I bought it as well, the negative reviews on Steam, which is where I bought it, other avenues are available, I hear. GOG. When I bought it, it was the negative reviews that made me buy it, because the negative reviews were either, it's really interesting, you can build your own space station, which I haven't even done yet, all of this, but it's really complicated and the UI is clunky, which is true. Once you know how to do things, it's easy. I go to this menu, I have to right click, I go on information, then I have to open this and click on behavior and set the behavior, then I have to click on this. if you're not comfortable with that, it's kind of a bit.
Yeah, no, I understand. There are some games that are just like that I enjoy.
That appeals to me.
It appeals to me. I like, a lot of games I, would prefer things are more complicated.
So people
less.
saying it's a bit too complicated, or if it's not too complicated, the UI makes it too complicated.
Yeah, or they feel it's just a bit opaque, like to learn.
Yes.
Like, a hard learning curve.
There are tutorials, but they cannot always be that straightforward. I think it's German, and it's been translated, but I might be wrong.
Okay.
But that was one of the reasons I bought it. And another reason was someone, I think it was a positive review, but on their negative section they were saying, like, this game has lots of bugs. Like, lots of bugs. Like, think Skyrim level of bugs.
Oh, yeah, you told me that, and I was like...
That's not a lot of bugs.
Yeah, the bugs in Skyrim can be fun as well.
That's not a lot of bugs.
Yeah, no, that's not a lot of bugs, really. And that's...
Fallout New Vegas, with my beard 3 feet from my face.
Yeah, yeah.
That wasn't even a bad bug.
Just some games, like, when the engine is, like, fairly complicated in terms of just possibilities, there's just more possibility for bugs. Yeah.
No, actually, I prefer, like, sometimes when I look at games and it says there's no bugs, I kind of take that as a bad thing. Like, I prefer a few bugs, because when there are no bugs, that often comes across like it's more, how do I say it, like, rounded and, I don't know, I like games where you can, like, jam your face in things and find you can actually crawl up that mountain, up to the Greybeards. There. Don't even need to look at the troll.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Skyrim. Okay, that's awesome, yeah. Yeah. Think you're gonna keep playing it a while, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
See if it'll hold you over until Starfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Starfield will be quite different, because I think it will be probably more about your own personal character, RPG, story elements, and...
It comes across that way, yeah.
It's not like your character has, like, a sneak skill in this game, or a lock-picking skill, or stuff like that. You can do things like that, but, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about Spore?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit, yeah.
I don't know why, you just wrote Spore down, like you've not even been playing it.
You don't listen to me. I'm going to play Spore today.
Okay, I'm going to play Spore.
While this is rendering, I'm going to play some Spore. It's been a while. I play it probably like every 5 years. Yeah.
What is Spore?
It is I guess you'd call it a life simulator game.
Maxis, right?
That's right, yeah. It's a Will Wright game, the guy that invented SimCity, The Sims, and others. Yeah, so you basically begin as a single-celled organism on a planet, and as you eat things okay, let me back up. It's kind of like playing several different games in one big connected thing. It's not like super complicated, it's pretty simple, but I think the whole picture makes it a really fun game.
Yeah.
So you start out single-celled life, you eat either plants or other organisms, you collect DNA parts, which you can use when your character dies, and you basically are playing as one species from single-celled life until you're a spacefaring civilization.
So you collect different, kind of like blueprints. So
Yeah.
I've got a blueprint
DNA
for
pieces.
a different type of mouth. This mouth is better at eating things. That mouth is better at talking to things.
Yeah, stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I remember playing it and saving myself loads of points by making a blind creature.
Yeah,
Which just had like 8 mouths on it.
Yeah, I get you, yeah. And all those parts, like, affect gameplay, the way
Yes,
that
I was
you're...
blind.
The way, yeah. Or even, like, okay, so after you get through the cellular stage, you get through to the end of the cellular stage, and by the end of that stage, it's been determined based on what you eat, what mouth parts you've added and stuff, whether you're a carnivore, herbivore, omnivore, and then this sets the stage for, like, every stage of it affects your species in later stages. So, like, if you end up as a carnivore, and then you move to the creature stage, okay, you're a carnivore, like, you can't change it now. You can't go back to being an herbivore. And then, yeah, you're, like, running around this little planet with all these other creatures. You have to basically become the dominant life on the planet. And in the creature stage, it's either you can befriend other species that are sociable, you can kill them, wipe them out, and yeah, you keep adding more, earning more DNA, stuff like that, and then move on to tribal stage, where it's like the core of civilization, and then it becomes like another different sort of kind of games where it kind of becomes like the tribal stage and then the civilization stage. They become kind of like a different game, almost like the game Civilization, like a very simple version of that, where it's just about like conquering. And so in Civilization stage, then like there's also all kinds of like design options. Like when you get to like Civilization stage, you can like say make your own vehicles and houses and what your cities look like.
I never got there.
It's all very simple, just like geometric shapes and like decorative shapes and stuff. But you can make some really fun stuff.
Yeah, you can make a bananas Giga city. Giga. Giga city.
Or like say that your civilization ends up trending towards the philosophy of faith, zealotry. So like you can make all of your like cars for your civilization, like I don't know, like a bunch of crosses,
like a big burning
and put speakers on them so they're shouting religious propaganda everywhere you go, stuff like that. And in order to
don't eat fish on Tuesdays. Don't eat fish on Tuesdays.
Yeah, like there's a lot of room for creativity and like making your own like humor, I would say. So then after you climb on shush, we'll be done soon. You get to the end of Civilization stage. Like the way you play determines like what your philosophy will be at the end of that stage into then the spacefaring age. So like the way that you say that you choose to convert all the other civilizations on your planet. To like your religion. That's one way to do it. And then you enter you have to all become one planet basically.
And then you go into the space stage.
And then you go to the space stage, and it's like a different game then.
Yeah.
Where you're traveling between planets, terraforming, and that's kind of like one of my favorite parts of the game, like
seeding other planets.
Yeah, seeding other planets, collecting plants from some planets, and then creating other planets, that have like a certain like look, or getting genetic engineering, genetic modification, whatever it's called, is like really fun to me. It's like you're just creating, it's the same parts that you had when creating your creature in the creature stage.
But now you're a god.
But now you're basically like a god, yeah, and you can create all new species of animals. And then if you so choose, you can share those in the Sporepedia, and you can see other people's creations on planets, and it's the whole galaxy, like you can find Earth.
So you can just come across a random planet that someone else has made.
Not the whole planet, but you'll come across like a planet and say like someone made like a T2 herbivore for like in their game.
Yeah.
You can find that herbivore just wandering around.
Did you see any fun ones?
Yeah, I mean you can find loads of fun stuff. Like I said, like that's part of the fun, is seeing what other people make as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean you can see like a giant pair of eyeballs with like two little tiny feet running around.
Yeah.
You could see like one time I made like kind of like a T-Rex, but I think I didn't like do its head quite properly, so it just ran like this. Like with its head like flopping on its back. And I didn't fix it in time, so then I'd find planets just covered in that.
They still did well.
Yeah, a lot of opportunities for creativity.
Didn't you say you found one that was just like a butthole with eyes?
Not a butthole, but you can, if you get creative with stuff, you can make some wonky looking stuff. Like, you see like a giant butt, like with some eyes down here, depending on how you do it.
That sounds fun. I should play it again.
Yeah, you should try and get further than the...
When's Spore 2 coming? When are we going to get Spore 2, huh? Will Wright?
I don't think there is a Spore 2. I think he's working on some mobile game now, or has been.
Great.
That doesn't sound interesting to me.
Goddess.
Something to do with, like, creating, like, an AI self or something. I don't know. It didn't really interest me. Could be good. I don't know. But I think that's also been in production for, like, years now. And, like, doesn't have a release date. Maybe they're not even still making it. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah, Spore is great, though.
Yeah.
For a game that's from like 2008.
Yeah.
And I think it holds up well. Very cartoony looking. You know,
Yeah, but
it's not like amazing graphics.
But there's a lot of,
but...
I mean, I remember there's a lot of options for how to modify your creature, and you can really, you know, make it into a sausage.
Yeah,
which is what you want to do.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, incredibly diverse, but with your creativity, you can make some wildly different looking stuff. And yeah, like change what their, you know, their voice sounds like, how they walk, how they move, you know.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and then create worlds. And then there's a whole combat element too. One of the other you encounter other spacefaring species in the final stage, and they all have different philosophies. There's like the philosophy of prosperity, basically just capitalists. All they care about is trade. And yeah, like zealotry, faith, or whatever. You know, they don't. All they care about is trying to convert you, and you know, you can just go destroy whole planets if you want.
They kind of do that in that Foundation game. It's a crutch for sort of sci-fi, isn't it? You know, like, these aliens are really, really religious. These aliens, they're the Klingons, they're really warlike. Humans are kind of in the middle.
Yeah. Kind of in the middle. Yeah. See, yeah, there isn't I would say that all of the philosophies that are available to you at that stage are all, like, could believably be the same philosophies as, like, humans if we were spacefaring. There's more of a choice. You know?
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah. Well, you know, I understand, you know, unite the world. It's the same in Stellaris, you know, the world is one government now. But that's not how it's going to go, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a game.
I mean, we're going to... I know. Okay, all right, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Dear Will Wright, I think that actually your supposition on a one-world government being needed to achieve space is spurious at best.
Yeah.
Please note this article. Yeah, anyway.
Anyway.
I'm just saying, like, it's actually going to be... Because that makes sense. You know, you'd want that, but that's not what's going to happen. We're going to have all this... I suppose, territorial dispute in space, aren't we? It's clearly going to be, eventually.
Yeah.
You know, unless we do get Spode to come down and unite planet Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, Spode is the bad civilization. They just conquer everywhere, but... Yeah. I mean, I get it, yes. Like I say, it's not like...
I wasn't criticizing the game, I was just saying.
But, yeah. But, I mean, you know, you can, there's a lot of options, though. You can totally be, like, follow, like, the way of force, you know, just violence, basically. And you can unlock, I can't remember what it's called, like, Mega Bomb or something, where you fly to another planet and then just drop a bomb and the whole planet explodes.
Mega Bomb.
Yeah, it's kind of late game, but it can be satisfying sometimes.
Yeah.
You know. Fuck you, Spode. Blow up every planet of yours I see.
Yeah.
And now I'll take your moons and terraform them and make them into lovely paradise.
Your moons, which are just, you know, spinning wildly all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's different types of planets and all kinds of stuff. It's fun.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's a cute game. It's enjoyable. I mean, I'll probably revisit it now.
Yeah.
While you're rendering.
There's definitely room for an independent or another developer to make something like that.
Yeah,
you know, in the same view as Life by You, City Skylines.
Yeah,
City Skylines taking the SimCity mantle. Someone could do that.
I would really love for somebody to have another crack at this, like, basic concept.
Yeah.
Like, starting at, like, single cell life and...
modify, you know.
Yeah, and moving with your species, because it is, you know, there's enough, you know, of it being complicated and stuff where it's interesting. Like, if you are a carnivore when you come out of your cellular stage, and then you're a carnivore in your creature stage, so you can only eat meat, you can't eat plants, obviously, and then once you become tribal and then to civilization, like, your philosophy, you don't really, like, choose your philosophy, it's chosen for you based on how you play. So, like, if you're aggressive, you're going to end up either being, like, a religious society or the way of force. The more cooperative you are, you're more likely to be, you know, whatever they're called, like the fucking hippies, or the way of prosperity.
You've selected fucking hippie.
So your choices that you make as, like, a single-celled organism carry through to when you're in the space stage. I would love to see somebody like another studio just use that kind of general concept of like
And then have it branch.
yeah, and have it like just way more complicated and updated and yeah.
So,
just
you could
something
be
like
religious
that.
and peaceful, or religious and warlike,
Yeah,
and make it, yeah.
Yeah, like I'd love to see the same thing tried now again, and yeah, just be way more complicated and just complex. Because the basic concept is pretty great.
Good. Tipping. Tipping is the practice that Mormon teenagers carry out to circumvent their moral ethics. Although technically sex by our standards, to Mormons, tipping.
What?
Tipping. What's tipping? Why is it called tipping?
They don't know.
The tip of what? Oh, we don't know.
No. It's debated
We need
where
a
the
crack
actual
team
term
of
comes from.
Etymologists.
Yeah,
Epidemiologists.
epidemiologists, yeah.
They could work it out.
Um,
Go on then.
you go on then. You're the one who wants to talk about it so bad.
Tipping. Well, there's been a lot in, the news, not really. Category L news. A lot. I mean, what do not in the news, because the news it seems to be like 3 weeks behind. Social media. But there's been a lot of stuff on different social media and blogs, RSS feeds, things like that. I think, on SMS about people being met with requests for a tip in situations where that hadn't occurred before.
Yeah, I do see lots of that, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that probably plenty of industries, especially being around the pandemic, decided that it would be a grand idea if they could continue to pay their employees less by trying to pressure people into tipping.
And that's what tipping as a server is really about? It's really about, we've invented this great thing where we'd have to pay people.
Yeah, basically, what it's really about is after slaves in the South were freed, the only jobs they could really get were things like being like a server at a restaurant, being like a bus or like a train porter, like very limited job options, and those employers in the South decided to do this idea called tipping, where they would pay $0 for those employees. Depending on how you look at it, it was another way to continue slavery until they added the minimum tipped wage, something like
$2,
like 70 years later or something.
Yeah, right.
So you could get like a black former slave and pay them $0 and say you get paid by tips, by gratuity from people for doing a good job, rather than getting paid because you're a human being and you deserve it. That's the origin of tipping. And some speculate that the actual origin before that was, in some places that I've read, like in the Middle Ages, same like people in the 1800s in America, like before the Civil War, before the Civil War, but like kind of mid 1800s, in America, wealthy people who traveled to Europe discovered this practice of tipping as a sort of social status thing, to give extra money to like your servant, and that they thought it was something that the aristocracy did, and they brought that back with them. And then after emancipation, then it became like, oh, perfect, we can continue not to pay them. So that's the short story of what people think is the history of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then after that, tipping in Europe became unfashionable.
Yeah.
And was considered like a bit gauche, I guess.
Gauche.
But then it spread here while it declined there.
Yeah. Apparently in Iceland it's kind of offensive.
Yeah.
I'd heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess it's rare in Britain, not unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose people might tip delivery drivers. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've lived in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely coming here when you were working as a full-time server, It was pretty alien
Yeah.
to me. Even, you know, it's not like I was like, oh, tipping, I've never heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
But,
we've all
yeah.
seen Mr. Pink. Go on about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get you. But if you don't know how the system works, it probably is a bit confusing.
Everyone in
for an
Britain was like,
outsider.
good show, Mr. Pink. He has many points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's backsheesh. You know that term? Backhander.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of backhander.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like it reminded me of like going to India and Egypt and Morocco and places like that, where you would just pay for someone and they would be like, great. Let me just no, let's leave it. Yeah, one of the first experiences I had in India was met a dude on the plane. An Indian dude was like, "Do you want to come around with me?" I'm like, yeah, yeah. He drove down the freeway, missed his exit, put the handbrake on, and then drove back like 300 yards, like reversed down the freeway. And then the cops pulled him over and he gave him 500 rupees. But a better example, I suppose, was when I went to Egypt, I was strictly just doing tourist stuff there. And I went to the Valley of the Kings, which is where they used to house the desiccated body of Tutankhamun. I think it's somewhere else now. But they've got all these rules about... So yeah, I think his body at the time was in the tomb, in a glass case, surrounded like with a velvet rope, and there's only like so many people allowed. Although he's not there now, but there were only so many people allowed into that room at a time, and no lights, no photography. It can damage the skin and all this. And I remember this guy. I was there with my friend Skinner, a couple of lads. And he was like, you guys want the real tour, right? Like, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Gave him like $10. And he was like taking us through, take the velvet off, on his way, taking us on this unofficial tour where we were going off track. He took someone's camera off them because they were taking photos. Shouldn't take photos. And they had to give him like $10 to get it back. And then we get to Tutankhamun. After having gone through this passage, no one else is allowed to go through. Like it says, like, don't go down this passage. You know, your boots will... It's just walking down it. Yeah, come on. Get to Tutankhamun. All these signs everywhere that says, like, don't take flash photography. And he's like, this is Tutankhamun. Do you want to really see him? Come and have a look at this. And then he gets, like, this mag light, this, like, security surface fucking laser, switches it on and, like, blasts it, like, 8 inches from Tutankhamun's face. Like, you can see this dead body's face, like, sweating. He's like, look at that. That's Tutankhamun. And it was. Backsheesh. $10 for that. That was great.
Right, okay.
It's backhanders. It's just backhanders, right? You know?
It can be that.
I mean, I'm not saying it is exactly like that, but, here's some money. Take care of me.
It can be, but generally...
I'm not saying people don't deserve tips.
Okay, well, do you want to let me tell you what my opinion is, or you just want to keep interrupting and asking questions? You tell me what I think.
You think...
My stomach's growling.
You think I'm hungry. Yeah. Go on.
What it comes down to is just employers not wanting to pay people a living wage, and... I think that probably is expanding. I wouldn't be shocked if there were some kind of push in the future to expand the tipped wage credit, which, if you're not in America or have never worked in the industry, means like you can, the federal minimum tipped wage for servers and other people who are expected to receive tips is $2.13 per hour and has been since the early 90s. And
you keep going. Let me just give him his bone.
And the idea being that if you, that you're supposed to make a minimum wage after getting tips because you're expected to be tipped. And if theoretically, if your total tips for hours worked within particular periods of time do not bring you up to, you sure that's a good idea? All right, just careful, watch that. Very good, duck. Alright, I mean, honestly, I'd rather do this for a moment than talk about tipping. Oh my god, watch the face. Here's the dog that people have been asking about. He's not really allowed in here because he's a hyper crazy pants that we love. Hey, hey, hey. Sit, sit. Hey, what? Hold him for a second.
I'm trying.
Sorry, just keep him tight grip. Let me grab my treat. See if I can make him sit down.
Well, I'm sure this is very entertaining if you're just listening to this. I suppose I should say, there's a dog in the room. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for the people listening on SoundCloud, this is what's happening. George is not having a stroke. Sit, sit, sit. Good boy, sit, sit. Okay, stay. So if you don't make minimum wage, they're supposed to then pay you enough that you make minimum wage, which is $7.25 an hour, the federal minimum wage. Obviously, it varies. There are, I want to say like 20-something states have increased their minimum wage now. And some places have done away with tipping altogether. So really at its core, to me, what it's about is, this means stay. That's why I'm doing this. Sorry. Try not to, I'm lecturing you now. Is just not wanting to pay employees more. And it isn't just the server who is getting paid from that as part of it. Like, we can also pay busboys less. We can pay hosts less because they're expected to get a percentage, depending on how they do it at that restaurant, of the server's tips. Bartenders as well. Depends on where you are, but everybody gets a cut. Except for kitchen staff, by law, can't take a cut of it. Like, dishwashers can't take a cut.
Just doesn't make sense.
Management can't take a cut unless they're working, serving shifts. It's all very complicated. Sit, sit. Okay, stay. Good boy, you stay right there. Thank you. Sorry. Yes, you're being a good boy. I know, this is very exciting. Never allowed in here.
So what I noticed, obviously, when I met you, you were a server. Mm. And when we would go out, you would tip generously. 30%, 40% sometimes.
Sometimes more, depending.
And that would always come back. We'd always get like free drinks.
Yeah, but that's not the reason I did it.
I know, but backsheesh.
Yeah, I get why it comes across that way, but here's the truth, is that what I found in my experience is that people tip the way they tip. If you give someone like free drinks or something, they may well remember that and come back and be happy to see you and maybe tip you a couple dollars more. Maybe. But the truth is, there are people who tip badly, people who tip good, and that I find that number shifts very little according to service. And there's actually research to back this up, that server quality of service is completely unrelated to how much they make in tips.
Come on.
Because there are a lot of other factors that go into play as well.
Hey, I didn't say yes.
Because part of the idea that restaurants like to give for why they keep doing tip wages and stuff like that is it motivates the servers to work harder. If they didn't get tips, they wouldn't care what quality of service they gave. My experience is that's not true at all. Because it isn't just about the tip at the end. I don't want to get yelled at. I don't want people to think that I'm stupid if I mess something up. There's a lot of social and emotional pressure that goes into trying to do a good job that is unrelated from the money that you make. Yeah,
you made pretty good money, I'd say, from that job, and it was for both of us, but for you really, it was horrible. And it definitely was not anywhere near as bad as it can get.
Oh, of course. There's lots of horrible jobs. There are people pouring concrete, breaking their backs, but it is bad.
Well, I didn't even mean that. I just meant in terms of the server industry. I think, an important thing to say is, it's about dominating people. Really.
Yeah, I think that's what...
That's why people want to go to restaurants, isn't it?
Not everyone, but on average, there are definitely people who really enjoy the feeling that they're better than other people, and when you're in a position, in a place where it's not only allowed, but encouraged, for you to, see, the server as, someone who should be, waiting on me hand and foot.
I mean, the clues in the title, server.
Yeah, I get you, but it depends on,
I'm not saying it should.
Yeah, I know. And I think that, I definitely took pride in trying to do a good job. And that didn't just, mean like, there are certain factors you can't control. If the kitchen messes something up, you don't control that, but you take the brunt of that because your pay goes down. If, say, the chef or the line cook, whoever, messes up a steak, that affects your tip. And that's really frustrating. There are so many factors that are completely outside of your control.
Yeah. Because
you are the interface between the customer and the rest of the restaurant, any problems, they tend to think that it's your fault. Like the day that, at the last place I worked where...
Waldorf salad.
No, I was actually going to tell a different one. They were actually okay.
Yeah, I know, but...
Don't talk that up. Hold on. I got it. This was a brilliant idea.
Thank you.
I mean, it probably is amusing. I don't know how much they can see him, but... No, there was one day where, in the middle of summer, where the air conditioning stopped working in the building. And when we all arrived to work that night, it was, according to the chef who got out their thermometer, it was 140 degrees Fahrenheit in the kitchen and over 100 in the dining room. The restaurant.
Stop feeding him.
Okay.
You've given him like 10. He's going to have like a massive poo. It was 140 degrees Fahrenheit.
In the kitchen.
In the kitchen.
And over 100 in the...
Yeah.
Why don't you trade me for a moment? You just hold that, thanks. And they...
Sit.
At that point kind of had the option, like, we open in an hour. Yeah. Do we want to bring in people into the 100-degree restaurant to eat hot food? If it were me, I would have considered perhaps calling these people and saying, like, maybe you should move your reservation up, because it takes like a good 4 hours to cool down once the AC was on in that building.
And wasn't there a couple who had gone there for their 20th anniversary?
Yes, they said that they drove 2 hours to get there. It was their 30th anniversary.
I'm just gonna let them out.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, let's go ahead and put them out.
Okay. Come on. Go on, tell us about the... Yep.
Yeah, so...
And then there it was like unbelievably hot.
Yeah, a lot of customers who came in for their reservations, it would all be like, it's grandma's 90th birthday, something that's important to your family and stuff. And you're going to a place where you're going to spend, I'd say, easily between $40 and like $80 per person, depending on whether you're drinking, having appetizers, whatever. And a lot of customers came in and were super mad when they arrived, because it was unbearably hot. And us servers just had to keep telling people, like, I'm so sorry, there's no air conditioning. Why didn't anybody tell us? I don't know, I'm so sorry. Lots of dirty looks, you ruined grandma's birthday, glares. Like, I did nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
And then, so we did stay open. No.
You trying to open the
got just a couple of tables. Basically made no money that night and got lots of angry comments and glances and people looking at us like we're stupid because, we made the decision to keep the restaurant open with no air conditioning. So
do you think...
A lot of stuff like that.
We should get rid of tipping and have an actual... Because we talked about that before, like, is $15...
In some places, that's enough, yeah.
Yeah, but not in San Francisco.
No, absolutely not.
No.
No, in San Francisco, one person to afford a one-bedroom apartment alone needs to make $49 an hour.
What, for 24 hours?
Working full-time.
Working 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So in some places, absolutely not. Like, I mean, if you lived like where we live and you made $15 an hour in a restaurant, which you won't,
yeah,
you could actually have like an almost a middle class living here with that. Not if you have any like health problems, but you could totally live and eat and so there is variation.
What about so I mean, it's not like it's going to happen anytime soon, but would you actually get rid of tipping or make it so it's not? I mean, it's a cultural thing, really. Mm-hmm. It's not just kind of legislation, is it? Mm-hmm. But would you make it so that people can still be tipped or not? But yeah, minimum wage, $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
Yes, I support $15 an hour minimum wage nationwide.
Yeah. then you won't get as good service.
That's what they say. I think that's nonsense. You can still get tips for, like, just the way that other countries do it, like exceptional service or whatever, you know, instead of it being a thing where, like, if you don't, you know, say I get 3 tables tonight and none of them tip me, but I still have to tip out the bartender, the busser, the host, and so it actually cost me $20 to come to work today. You know, but then other nights you might make $200. You know, it's a very frustrating line of work when it has the extreme volatility of just like the whims of people, or, you know, what the weather was like that day, whether the AC broke, all determining how much money you make. I think that having a higher minimum wage, getting rid of the tipped credit wage altogether, would be a positive thing. Because at least then, you know, you can count on something. And also, yeah, I think that I made pretty decent money. The amount that I made, not a ton, but would probably be in like the top 1% of all servers, because it was a fine dining restaurant.
Wow.
It is a fine dining restaurant. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it isn't.
No, I understand, yeah.
I mean, it isn't.
They're listed and marketed as a fine dining restaurant, yeah.
Sure.
But
so is my ass. So
but
what?
yes, I've also worked in fast food places that clean better, so.
Oh yeah.
You know, take that however you will. Yeah. What else do I have to say? I mean, I have loads to say about that. That's kind of one of the reasons that
you didn't want to.
I didn't necessarily want to talk about it, because I feel like I could talk about that for like an hour. How just complicated the whole thing is, you know.
Yeah.
And it I guess from the perspective of like just a customer, it shouldn't be that complicated. You know, you should expect that you'll, you know, you can go out somewhere and get decent service, and, you know, but also from what you've told me about what it's like in restaurants, like in Britain, it seems like people expect very different types of service in America.
I suppose so. I don't know. I mean, I guess in Britain, you know, I guess the way you guys probably see us is like, oh, they don't want to tip, they're cheap. But I think in Britain, like, it doesn't matter if you're in a restaurant or, like, at home base or Home Depot or, you know, anywhere, like, it'd be like, this is the bill, also you're expected to add 20%. I think it would be met with, like, a what the fuck are you talking about?
No, I get you. And just to be clear, if we saw, like, a European person, we don't think, oh, they're not going to tip well because they're cheap. It's just, like, they may or may not know about this social expectation that the employer doesn't have to pay their employees, you do as a customer with some extra money at the end. And part of it, and it's so, like, having just been to a lot of restaurants and bars and all kinds of things like that, like, if you just sit and watch, you know, say, like, okay, say that we just had a dinner for an hour and a half and our bill was $150, you know, and we tipped $30, you might think that's a load of money. They're making, you know, however many dollars an hour. But what you don't see is the 2-3 hours at the beginning of the shift before we open that we're paid $2 an hour.
Yeah.
Cleaning and folding silverware, folding napkins. You know, a lot of restaurants don't do cleaning staff anymore. Especially during the pandemic, what I noticed is they took it as an opportunity to get like super lean.
Yeah.
So you're doing other people's jobs more as well. I mean, when the bit that I was back after the pandemic, we would like not have a bartender for days, you know. Yeah. And you just have to be in the back making your own cocktails and all your own stuff. It slows down service. People get more mad at you. Again, they always assume it's your fault, not some cheap motherfucker, a billionaire living in Kentucky making these decisions. I think they're based here. Yeah. Anywho, this is part of why I was like, I don't know if I should talk about this.
What do you think about
going to turn into a monologue for
tipping
me.
for other things like?
I think that everybody deserves to make a living wage.
Yeah.
I also think that when people are inundated with tipping for things like, you know, tipping, say for like, what's a weird place that we've seen it? Like counter service.
I don't know.
Like Qdoba.
I haven't seen it anywhere.
You know, or something like that.
Qdoba.
Or Starbucks, say, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand why I'd ever be tipping someone when I have to, you know, go to the counter.
Yeah.
Like if Starbucks was a coffee shop, you know, like not the gross fucking facsimile of a coffee shop that it is, a coffee shop where you go in and you sit down and a waiter comes over and goes, "Hello, sir, what do you want?" And I'm like, "I'll have a cappuccino, please."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. And
Right, just keep going. Sausage.
the reason is I think is comparable across a lot of industries. An employer doesn't want to pay you a living wage if they put the onus on on customers to make sure that you make a living wage when they have no idea what you're making when. It creates a degree of separation, and one where, say, your employees, if they get mad because they had a bad night, got bad tips, they're mad at the customers, not you. Does that make sense? It's a way of diverting attention in such a way that the people who are actually making decisions never have to suffer the consequences, and they can keep their stock price up, I guess. So, yeah, it's complicated, but I generally am in favor of getting rid of the tipped credit wage and bringing everybody up to minimum wage. And the minimum wage needs to be increased anyway. That's what I think.
I heartily endorse everything Christina just said. What did you say? Something about the Pope.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and just briefly on that point of, I get the sense that it's less common in Britain for people to want the kind of service that that most Americans want, which is me pretending to be your friend, complimenting you constantly, being up your ass, licking your toes,
It's a cheese sandwich.
Yeah, that's what people want. But I also think that there's a big differential. I think what I notice, but not always, but on average, more high-income people don't want that here. They're more likely to just want you to have knowledge about, like, the cuts of meat, the wine, the cocktails, They want you to tell them about an obscure whiskey that you have and its qualities and how it's aged. Those are different expectations. Mm-hmm. But then they want to be left alone to just enjoy their meal, And people who are on the lower income spectrum, again, not always, totally depends.
I think what you're really saying is it's people who otherwise don't have other people to boss around.
Yeah.
Like if you're a high income person, if you have your own company or you're a senior person at your company, you have people to fucking treat like shit.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, and you get your jollies that way.
If you were, like, lower to middle income person, and this is, like, a special occasion, and normally you're cleaning up after your own kids and your own house all day long.
This might be a good opportunity to lord over
someone. Yeah, I think that, again, lots of variation, but there are definitely people, like, that's the whole reason they go out.
Oh, she an ugly bitch.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, ever. I can't remember what they were mad about.
The bill.
Yeah, that's right. They were mad that the bill was too high. The things that they ordered were too expensive.
And they were saying that, and because you work for a corporate place, the manager, if I was a maitre d', Gordon Ramsay's maitre d', if I was Jean-Paul, is it Jean-Paul? Jean-Pierre?
Jean-Pierre. Jean-Philippe.
Jean-Philippe.
Jean-Philippe!
Yeah. I heard someone call my waiter a bitch. I'd be fucking breaking out the triple suplex. Yeah.
Well, they don't have maitre d's anymore. There's no more sommeliers in restaurants.
Yeah. There's no more chefs.
And there's no more chefs.
Chef
and a lot
Mike.
of them, it's just line cooks.
Fresh frozen.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, some of them... God, I'll never forget the dude who was just helping out one night, and I saw him. They needed some lobster for an order, lobster tails. Lobsters were all frozen because nobody took them out of the freezer. Why you would freeze them? Anyway, whole other thing. Decided to defrost a lobster tail for an order he was working on by putting it under running hot water. Basic. Very basic. Don't defrost shellfish with hot water. You can kill yourself. Don't defrost any meat with hot water, ever. Very simple stuff. And yeah, because nobody's trained anymore.
Yeah.
They're all making like $9-10 an hour.
Yeah.
Working like 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
With no overtime.
Was that creme brulee story? Where you had like a hoity woman who was like, I want a creme brulee and it must be like this.
No, it was a British dude.
Oh, that's why I said a woman.
Yes.
Yeah, a hoity woman.
He did talk exactly like that.
Yeah.
He wanted a creme brulee.
What did he look like?
He kind of looked like John Oliver. It wasn't John Oliver. But
Wait a minute.
He looked pretty
He looked
similar.
like John Oliver, and he was in the United States.
Yeah. Well, in Indianapolis.
He kind of looked like John Oliver.
He did kind of look like John Oliver, yeah. Like glasses and all.
Right.
He wanted a creme brulee and just said something about, like, make sure they do it properly. You know, it's crunchy.
Oh, if you hadn't said that,
Okay.
I'd have said to them, do whatever.
He said, make sure the pastry chef knows to do it properly. Okay, well, newsflash, I make all the desserts. There's no pastry chef. There's like 2 people working in this kitchen. I made the desserts for half the other servers on busy nights because I was just fast
You're
at it.
good at it, yeah. So you made this creme brulee.
So I made the creme brulee, and I did make it, and he went, perfect. It made me smile. I know it's perfect.
I spat in that.
So I'm not stupid. It's not that hard. Sugar.
Yeah. Hey.
The hard part's already done. It's already baked.
We had a pre-chat about this basically where Christine was like, I don't want to talk about tipping. So you talk. But one thing you came up with was 30% of the US economy is...
Oh, depending on how you determine what is a service industry, like 20 to 30% of all jobs in the U.S. are in the service industry.
Like restaurant sector.
Retail, restaurants.
Okay, retail.
Some figures will
Retail
count...
is service? Retail isn't service, retail is consumer.
Like I said, it depends on how you determine...
Service is when you're buying a service, you don't get an end product. Mm-hmm. Like I go for a massage, that's a service. Mm-hmm. Or I call up my accountant and say, diddle the books, that's a service.
Yeah.
If I'm buying jeans, that's a consumer product. Okay.
You're in customer service if you're working in retail.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily at all. You might be, okay, but customer service doesn't mean service either. I mean, you could work in customer service and work for Elron. Work for Exxon.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, you're still going to have to deal with customers.
Yeah. Like I say...
You can work in retail and work in the warehouse and never deal with customers. You can work in retail and work on the books and never deal with customers.
I understand. I'm specifically talking about retail, like retail sales.
Sure.
Like you work in a store, in a retail store.
Alright. I thought that you meant like 30% of the US was like basically restaurants and cafes.
No, it's
and
not. No, it includes like cashiers, and stuff like that as well. It includes like fast food, counter service food. That's all.
Well, yeah.
Service. And some measures will count like car mechanics as service. So it depends on how you.
Well, mechanic that is service.
Yeah.
But if you buy some new headlights, that's a consumer product.
Yeah, I get you.
Different union.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say to that was like, wow, it really does sort of strike home. Like, yeah, this economy is bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the adverts that are going to play before and after this, if we're lucky? Fast food.
Depends on where you live.
Processed food. Maybe an ad for like a personal injury lawyer.
We get a lot of ads for
Grammarly.
Pay us to help you learn how to sign up for Medicare.
Yep.
We live in a geriatric state.
Yep.
Yeah.
Adult diapers.
Yeah.
It's like this is all just crap.
Yeah, the economy is full shit.
Yeah.
It's
producing toys.
Scams all the way down. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not even a scam. It's,
no, I get you. Yeah, I mean,
yes.
A lot of what we do is completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, after leaving the restaurant industry, I tell you what, I enjoy cooking again.
Talking to others, that's a little less unbearable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an introvert to begin with, but so talking to anybody who isn't you, or occasionally my mom or sister, is kind of like
the toilet floor.
Yeah, but definitely, yeah, it had a big impact on me in terms of just like mental health. It's hard to have people tell you that you're absolutely shit and awful all the time. When you know you're doing a good job, especially. And not to say that's every customer, obviously. There are loads of nice customers. But those are the ones that keep you up at night, are the people who are awful.
Yeah.
Like that lady, they were mad about their bill being high. It was like $70 for 8 people. They only had appetizers. Calling me a stupid white bitch, an ugly white bitch. She an ugly bitch. This lady's an ugly bitch. And I'm just like, here's your bill.
Remember that Lyft driver called me a white bitch?
Yeah, I do remember that. That was fascinating. What was she mad about?
She was mad when we got in. Do you remember we made her move her baby seat?
There was a car seat in the back, so
Yeah.
there wasn't room for both of us. We asked if she could move it.
Yeah, and she was mad about that, and it stunk of piss.
Yeah, and then when we got dropped off, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was something like white bitch.
That's what
screaming
said,
out the window
bitch.
at you. I just wanted to.
I didn't say anything to her.
We didn't speak the whole way. No. Yeah. Was also talking on the phone.
She
didn't say anything.
She knew we were grossed out. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, you never know what people got going on with their lives, you know, and
Don't care. Lose your job.
Yeah, and that's you know, that's how it works. Yeah, like I say, with the customer experience of like going to a restaurant, you don't care if one of the kitchen staff didn't show up. You don't care if there's no dishwasher and I'm going slow and there's no bartender because I have to do my own dishes and make my own drinks. You don't care. You just want to have a good experience, and that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we want to give it to you. Well, not me anymore.
Not me,
I don't work there now. I'm never going back to restaurants again.
Even if I did work in a place like that, that's not what I would want.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spitting in those onion rings.
Yeah, I mean, just over restaurants. Gotta remember the fucking Tony's experience.
Yeah. Oh, name and shame.
There's like dozens of them, I'm pretty sure.
There's like 3 of them.
Well, whatever.
I think there might be 2 of them now.
We used to go into this place when, like, after I got off work, if I got off work a bit early, and, like, have a martini and, like, some oysters, little treat. And we went in this one day.
Now we're living in a trailer in Kentucky.
Happier, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we got these oysters, and, oh, yay. Like, I fucking love oysters.
They were pretty cheap, huh?
And they weren't bad for a restaurant, like $1 each or something. That's not bad at all. And yeah, I had the first one, I'm like, what is...
Rubbery.
It's up here, a bit rubbery, and like, oh, there's 0 liquid in this.
Yeah.
Oh,
they were
opened on another day, and then just stuck in the fridge, possibly not even covered. There's no brine, there's no juice, they're old. Yeah. So, complained, they took it off, and then...
They took it off.
And then we paid and never went back. Again, basic. You know, if you're going to... Yeah, we tipped well. It wasn't the bartender's fault.
Yeah, I used to know someone who had like a big burn on their arm, and she told me that she got it from like her high school prom. So she'd had this burn for like at least 10 years, and she said I still tipped the lady.
What?
She got it from going to the hairdresser, and the hairdresser dropped the
curling iron or something.
Curling iron on her arm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And she said she still tipped her.
It's an accident.
Well, yeah. But okay, it was an accident.
Yeah, I get it.
It's an accident that you're not going to get tipped then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Should we save tipping part 2 for another time?
I'm sure we'll talk about this more, yeah. We'll talk about it again, I'm sure.
Another joke for another time.
Or even just restaurant industry in general. I'd love to share some more stuff from that, yeah. Fascinating. Yeah,
we should get a powwow, me, you, and Damien.
I would love that.
Where I represent the customer.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
And it's all about you two should shut the fuck up.
Remember the first time I met Damien?
No.
And when we were picking him up in Chicago, we were doing Collaborator, picking him up from the airport there so we could ride a bus back. And you were like, this is Christina. She's the producer and my wife, and she's a server at a restaurant. And he goes, so you're the enemy. It does feel like that. That's just the nature of...
He also said, so you're going to be producing George...
Oh, he said, so you're making the film then. That's very funny.
Yeah.
Bless him.
Bless him.
Yeah, I hope he gets a chance to come out for a couple weeks sometime. It's been a while, and that was a lot of fun. When we got back from then... We'll wrap it up, but I think this is funny. Maybe I've already said it, I don't know. It's going to start getting to the point in these where I forget what I've talked about before. And so we got back from picking him up in Chicago. I had to go to work the next day, and you guys just got, like, the day to yourself. And I was like, okay, like, here's you got your debit card. If you guys want to go have lunch or something, that's cool. I got to work. I come back. I think it was kind of early, like 8 p.m. And when I walk in, you guys are wearing matching outfits and completely drunk, and you're like, hey!
I wasn't drunk.
You guys
He
were
got
hammered.
drunk.
I opened the door and went, oh no. Like, oh, I'm sorry. We had some drinks. You did, and I was like, it's okay, I just gotta catch up. Hold on. Let me pop open a bottle of wine and we'll get this going. It was just very funny. You guys bought matching outfits, like shorts and like little shirts that match. And then went to lunch and got drunk.
Yep.
Besties.
No, we were around H&M buying stuff for Collaborator. I'm like, yeah, these shorts look terrible. I'll buy these.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll go with my Niles t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, he did bring you a t-shirt. And the Judge Rinder mask. He brought gifts. You guys are in love.
Sure. Alright, well, I guess that's us wrapping up.
I guess so. I feel like we went long that time.
Guilty!
Got a little into stiff.
Yeah, it was very boring this time. You should really think about that.
I will.
You will.
I'll think about it while I'm playing Spore.
Alright.
And making food.
I'm going to have this, like go back in time and, you know, kind of like, oh, Mr. Darcy. They've all got Rinder masks. Make Pride and Prejudice, but digitally alter it, so instead of, like, fans to be coy behind.
It's Judge Rinder.
It's just Rinder masks. It's never explained.
I like it.
Anyway, that's the next half an hour for me, is talking about that to Christina. Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks to everyone who commented advice about mice.
Mice and snake advice.
Snake. I totally got it wrong as well about Dutch royalty marrying a hairdresser. I thought that definitely happened, and I thought maybe I got it wrong, maybe it's Swedish. I can't find it anywhere. I must have made it up. Sorry about that.
You may have dreamed it.
And I'm that. And the hairdresser looks like me. It is me. Yeah. And I've got great hair.
Yeah,
and they love me for my hair, but also for me, but also for my hair. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the mouse advice and stuff. That was sweet of you guys.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
I saw a big fatty.
You did. Yeah.
Fat one.
I was napping, and George was like, I saw a huge mouse. Yeah.
Is it a huge mouse or like a medium-sized rat?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we put some rat poison out underneath the trailer, so see if that helps.
Yeah, so if we're not here next week, it's because we're dead. All right, thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers.